Hello YouTube and welcome to channel Anna Bella and welcome to my second season 8 of Game of Thrones review. The second episode of season 8 is called A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. It's a lovely episode. It has been called wholesome, which means that it's completely family friendly. You could put a 5-year-old in front of it and they wouldn't have any scary moments at all, which, as we know for Game of Thrones, it is a rarity. This episode is what I call a grace episode. The first episode, where I showed you my lovely map that I've done, we went through who was where and everything. This episode basically allows the characters to breathe and allows information from previous episodes to settle within them so that they can then move forward. We've had a lot of information and a lot of cute grace moments for characters that haven't seen each other for such a long time. Like we had that beautiful moment where the scouts that Jon Snow, when he was king of the North, sent out, came back, told him that unfortunately that particular bannermen from the Starks aren't coming, and anybody else who is still out there is probably under the Night King now, basically ice zombies, but that also allowed Jon and the leader of the Brotherhood Without Banners and the guy from the north, the big hairy ginger one, to have a moment. And it also allowed the people that served with Jon Snow and Sam Tarly when they were under the Night's Watch to basically have a moment and say, this is how far we've come, let's appreciate that. And it was pretty much the same for every single character. You had Grey Worm and his lady have a moment. You had Arya Stark and and Robert Baratheon's bastard have continual moments all through that episode, because you all knew that they had this will they, won't they, will they, won't they, will they, won't they thing coming on, and death is on everybody's mind. And it's basically, how are we going to set up the big battle, which we know is going to happen either in episode 3 or 4. I'm guessing with episode 3, because episode 2 does leave us on a cliffhanger. The horn has sounded in the deep, people. We are heading to a big battle. So we'll either have that battle in episode 3, or we'll go and visit Cersei, find out what she's doing, and then return to Winterfell and find out what's happening in episode 4, depending on how they do it. That's my personal opinion. Apologies for spoilers. Get over yourselves, people. This is it. We've only got a week to discuss this before things change again, and things are changing at a rapid moment. We had that lovely moment with Dany and Jorah. He came back and basically said that she's got to forgive Tyrion, even though he's really annoying and even though he took his job as Hand of the Queen. She's got to work with him. His mind is brilliant, and yes, he can make mistakes. And remember that Cersei is his sister, and it is complicated. I loved the handling of Jaime. You had the whole trial with Sansa, Jon, and Dany, and Dany and Sansa basically bonding over it, and Bran saying, but what we do for love. Oh, I love the One-Eyed Raven. He's such a great character. It is literally, everybody is having those moments of grace. So you had the return of, what is his name? His name's completely gone. We shall not say, the one that betrayed them, and he's a Greyjoy, and the one that hasn't got anything between his legs. He returned and had his moment with Sansa. You had Podrick basically sing Jenny's song, which is an important song, by the way. It does, it foretells certain things. You had Brienne of Tarth and Jaime connect again, which was really good. Then you had that triangle with the ginger northern guy. That was really good, really nicely dealt full in a wholesome, romantic, respectful way. I love that. I love that particularly romantic storyline. So wholesome in comparison to Jaime and his own sister and Cersei. And the fact that you had Jaime and Tyrion Lannister basically have a bonding moment over wine and say how far they've come from where they were when they first walked into Winterfell Hall to how they are now. And it was just it was a grace episode. It allowed the characters to breathe, develop and say, this is how far I've come. look at my journey in a reflectful way, and then also plan for the future. I love the fact that we actually had a map out on the table and going, they were there, this was there. And yes, episode 1 was the setup, but this is where all of the characters who are now together in the right place realise Cersei's army is not coming. They're going to have to fight the Night King themselves. What's the best thing to do? We saw Robert Baratheon's bastard, who is a blacksmith working his trade with the dragon glass, Valyrian steel. He built that weapon for Arya, which is really important. So everything is coming together, and it's really important what happened in this episode. It allows things to breathe and it allows things to develop. Yes, we did have the great Dany Jon moment down in the crypt. And yes, we did have various other moments where we had to convince a young girl to go in the crypt. We had to convince Sam Tarly to go in the crypt. We had to convince Tyrion to go in the crypt. The crypt might not be the safest of places, because I'm just going to put my hand up. Aren't crypts usually full of dead bodies? And isn't this the army of the dead? And what happens if like an ice zombie, like a White Walker, ends up in the crypt? Would that mean that all the bodies in the crypt will come alive? Is that really the safest place? Are we thinking this through? Is Grey Worm safer out on the battlefield? Loving the fact that they're gonna like do this thing with fire, and the fact that they've got that thing, those like trenches that just go down like that on spikes. That looks quite exciting. So there's things going there. Remember, we've got 2 dragons to be used. This is about the battle, so I think that's going to be exciting. But there was lots of interpersonal character moments. I'm loving the fact that Dany and Sansa actually got together and had that meeting so that they could see where they were and could connect. That's important. I love the fact that we had Jaime and Brienne connect and see his worth and see her worth. And even though she did get knighted, it's an important thing because it actually gives her the status on the battlefield, makes her more confident, makes other people feel more confident, because you're passing on a tradition in an untraditional way, which actually unites the group. I'm loving the Onion Knight. What was interesting, one character we didn't see the Spider. Where is he and what is he doing? We've not seen him in that whole episode. That episode had great little moments. Yes, we actually did see Gilly and what she was doing. I love the fact that she convinced that little girl to come down and defend the crypt with them, even though the crypt may or may not be the most safest place to go from zombies. So this is the problem. You wouldn't go to a graveyard if you're being attacked by zombies, because zombies could come up from the ground. You'd ideally be in the air, but you've got that zombie dragon to come up. You've got all those troops, so being on the ground is not exactly safe either. There is no safe place, and as Bran rightly said, the Night King is death. So they're basically fighting the Night King, who's going to like destroy all human memories, and the Three-Eyed Raven carries all of their memories. So they're going to use him as bait. That may or may not be a good idea, considering that they've got the Greyjoy boy guarding him. That might not be the best solution. Difficult to know what to do, and I'm not quite sure what Arya's role in all of this is going to be, because she needs to actually get to the south if she's going to do what she needs to do, but she kind of does need to stay here. I don't have high hopes for the blacksmith, for the Baratheon blacksmith. I really don't. I'm loving the fact that Sam Tarly gave Jondal his Valyrian steel sword, because Sam Tarly basically said, I can't use it to defend it, but you can, and you can do it in the name of your father who taught me. So that's good. You know, Sam Tarly is a great bloke. Killed a White Walker, the first person to ever do it, and also is great at stealing books out of the Citadel Library. My kind of character. Overall, the episode was great. It was full of lovely grace moments. It allowed the characters to actually develop and grow and reflect. The first episode, yes, was the setup. This episode allows them to plan the battle. We didn't see any of Cersei this episode, which was unusual. We might see her in episode 3. We might go to the south rather than have the big battle. just because we can delay the cliffhanger. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they are going to do this big battle. I do know that one episode of season 8, which has only got 6 episodes in, people, so we've only got 4 to go, so technically we are 1/3 done. If you're going to split, you know, this into 2s, we are 1/3 done. And the information that Dany now knows about Jon Snow is very important. But whether that'll play out, because this is survival time, so these alliances are brittle because they're fighting for the whole of humanity. They are not fighting for their house anymore. And it was interesting that we did have Tyrion say, at one point we've all fought the Starks, yet here we are in Winterfell defending it for the whole of humanity. That's interesting in itself. Cersei hasn't got her elephants, but she has got a lot of ships, and she's got a lot of warriors. She doesn't. The Iron Islands have been taken by, what's his name? It's so annoying. The Greyjoy boy's sister. She's gone back to take the Iron Islands. He claims in the name of the Starks. I don't think so. I think she's gone there to wait and bide her time because she's only got 3 ships. And also, she's a useful character to not have in the action. We didn't see anything of the Spider. I don't know where he is. Viserys needs to make an appearance next episode. Or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's fled. Maybe he's hiding. I do not suspect he's in the crypt. It's interesting to see. It's interesting also, the lady of the Bear clan, she's not going in the crypt either. She's going to fight. That's interesting in itself. I really worry about the safety of the people in the crypt. This could be bad. Really. You've got an army of undead warriors coming and you're hiding everybody in the crypt with the dead people that aren't alive yet. Do White Walkers automatically make all corpses come alive? I'd be worried. There are several flaws in this plan, but it's the best plan they have. So who knows what's going to happen. But overall, the episode was lovely. It was a graceful episode, and I was actually really respectful of the history and the journey that not only the characters have travelled, but the audience has travelled. So we've only got 4 episodes left. That's quite shocking. So we've got to save the whole of humanity and then get back to fighting over an iron chair that nobody really wants to sit on, but that's just what we do. Unless Dany is really going to break the wheel and reinvent the wheel, I guess. Overall, I'd give the episode a 4.5. It was good. It allowed certain things to happen that needed to happen, and it actually gave the characters a space to breathe and to allow those things to happen. Sorry that I haven't sort of like been overtly spoilery in this episode. I've told you some things, but not all things. I think it's going to be interesting what happens in the battle and who lives and who dies. I don't necessarily think that the people in the crypt are going to be totally safe, guys, because they're hanging out with dead people. I think the people on the horses have a better chance, weirdly enough. Never get yourself locked into a castle. Even if it's a siege, you ain't gonna survive. You're better off in a tent somewhere, because then at least you can get food. So in short, only barricade yourself in your castle if you know you've got enough supplies and you know you're not going to be attacked by zombies, because you know that you're going to have a crypt in the cellar. It's not a good solution. Don't get locked in a castle, people. It's not a good solution. So I hope you've enjoyed this review. Please like, comment and subscribe. Please let me know your thoughts about episode 2 of Game of Thrones, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms.